Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Blood, Sweat, and Tears presented by the FantasyHolics. With us, as always, is Castle Black, Brian Brewer, Mr. Oviedo here, Zach Rom taking a much-needed night off from all of the behind-the-scenes work that he does, making these shows so successful and getting all the graphics work done, getting a lot of work done for the page. About a month away from the NFL draft. The anticipation is building. Still a little quiet, but we've got some news to talk about tonight. We're going to preview the NFC West fantasy values, a couple of free agent moves, not a whole lot. One move that could cause some hiccups on draft day if you're not paying attention. We'll get into that in a little bit. Brian, what's on tap tonight?
Touch on a little bit of news that's going on. One you just brought up is Brian Robinson has been signed by the Atlanta Falcons to be the backup to Bijan Robinson. So be careful when making trade offers and drafting B. Robinson running back on the Falcons. Hopefully sleepers, your ESPN, all the formats are kind enough to make them say B.I. Robinson and B.R. Robinson to avoid the confusion. But as far as the impact of that, I think it's pretty good. He is probably a lesser version of Tyler Algier. So I don't think anybody really worried that the Falcons were going to bring in a big name at running back or highly draft one that would threaten Bijan. But this is kind of perfect. Brian Robinson will probably have the same usage that he did behind Christian McCaffery last year, the way I'm looking at it. So I think this is a pretty solid landing spot. It also immediately turns him into a mega value handcuff running back. The same way for the last 2 years, if you rostered Bijan, rostering Algier was a must. It just flips to Brian Robinson now. So that's probably the biggest free agent news that's happened in the last week since we filmed last. That and Joe Flacco has officially signed the one year deal to be Joe Burrow's backup in Cincy again. So that's a beautiful thing for all the Bengals skill players, because if Burrow's out, we already saw that Flacco can keep them all extremely fantasy relevant any games that Burrow's missed. So I think it's a nice boost and some insurance for your Chase and your Higgins and your Chase Brown for sure.
Flacco couldn't get that last AFC North Infinity Stone. Maybe. We'll see how the season progresses.
We'll see. They've made in-season trades with Joe Flacco before, so.
With Algier gone and David Montgomery gone, who are you taking, Gibbs or Bijan? With seemingly the Montgomery and Algier have vultured a lot of touchdowns and touches and scores over the last 2 years. Does it move? Where are your thoughts on Gibbs and Bijan heading into the draft, at least?
So I think we touched on it last week or maybe the week before, but I'm still in the camp of Bijan first. I just think he's more built to be the workhorse. The Lions showed more than once that they will give Gibbs a really big workload, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to be much bigger than last year. I think they just really give Pacheco the same type of gig that Monty had, more powerful back, goal line back. So I think Gibbs' usage will be similar, whereas I think Brian Robinson probably isn't as good as Algier. So I think Bijan's just more likely built physically and just in a situation where I think he will just get more of a workload. And I'll take Bijan, but I'm not going to fight anybody that wants to go that considers Gibbs the 101. To me, I think probably like the clear 1 and 2 picks in normal redraft, even in like full PPR. I think they represent such an advantage at the running back position over the rest of the running backs, really, that I probably would take them 1, 2 if I had the 1 or 2 pick.
Just wait till draft day for something to get thrown into the mix and change everything. Got a question right off the bat about said running backs. We got trying to acquire Bijan. Is Achane and Rasheed or Achane and a 27 first enough 12-team point per reception?
Man, if I'll look at it like this: if I roster Bijan, then I'm certainly a competitor, or think I'm a competitive team. I'm not rostering Bijan on a rebuilder. So if I've got Bijan and I've got a team that's ready to go for the gold this year, and someone to offer me Achane and Rashee Rice, shit, man, I think I might take that. I'm definitely like the Rashee Rice guy of not just the show, but like of the whole FantasyHolics group. I just really believe in him. I think he's been just so damn good for fantasy. Every game that he's been on the field, he's just been awesome for fantasy. So you're giving me Achane and Rashee, man. I think I'd actually sell Bijan for that. But I think a lot of people probably would say that's light. People that don't believe in Rashee as much as me. If you're, I guess, if you're going to sell, yeah, like I said, I don't know. Achane and the 27 first, I don't think a competitor's taking that because that 27 first isn't helping them win this year. So I think they're probably, if they would move them, they're probably more likely to do it for Achane and Rice. To me, it's a pretty solid trade. I'd probably sell Bijan for that, but I'd say the majority of people wouldn't sell Bijan for that. They'd probably want another piece or like a second or something thrown in.
Yeah, with the Dolphins' offense trending toward the bottom of the league and Rashee Rice's legal issues looming, as it seems like it's been for well over a calendar year, they could be. I would move Achane and Rashee for Bijan. I'd hold on to a 27 first though. I would. I like the talent with Rice, but there's a lot of question marks, and I'm probably the most risk-adverse person on the site.
I also think you're definitely in the right ballpark. If you're gonna approach the Bijan manager, you're going to need to at least start with something like that, a high-end running back that's similar in age to Bijan, and a high-end receiver. They might ask for more, but I think that'll at least. To me, I'm a big fan of not just lowballing somebody and sending them a shit offer because it's no way to start a negotiation. They're probably just going to deny and ignore you. I think that is a completely respectable offer that'll either get a conversation started or maybe they even just take it. So I like where your head's at as far as like starting with something like that for Bijan. I think you can probably get it done.
Yeah. And be prepared for any trade that you make this year for a 2027 first to be involved somehow, some way.
Yeah, everybody wants the 27 first. It's been going on since the middle of last season. I have all my leagues that I commission roll over now, so I think in all the ones that I play in are rolled over. So, the trade blocks are already heavy, and I saw a guy put basically every one of the good players, active players on his roster on the trade block with any 27 first, any 27 second, any 27 first, that whole thing. So, this happens a lot. You say, oh, this class coming up sucks, and then, oh, this class 2 years from now is incredible, and sometimes it plays out, sometimes not so much. The one that comes to mind for me that was considered like the all-time draft class was the one with where Trevor Lawrence was the 101, because in that class we got like 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round, and then you also had Jamar Chase, Pitts, Waddle, Davante Smith. I want to say like Najee and Javonte Williams were the two good backs in that class, which they both had good capital. So like they were really hyped up. Not 100% on the brain, but anyway, that class between especially for Superflex with all the quarterbacks and then all those really good players, it was like those picks were fucking gold. Like if you want to try to buy picks for that draft before the draft, forget it. It like wasn't happening. And now look where we're at. 5 years later, whatever, going into the 6 years later, Trevor Lawrence is like the only quarterback that even has like relevance. All the rest of them are like backups at this point or not even playing. So if you drafted Trevor Lawrence, cool, he's still a nice asset. But Jamar Chase obviously is gold. But then after that, you've got Kyle Pitts is okay, all right. As much as I love Davante Smith, he's like a mid wide receiver too. Waddle, everybody seems a little bit more excited about Waddle with this trade. But as we were talking about it, is he any better now that he's at Denver instead of Miami? I don't know. I think he's probably similar. Again, like a wide receiver two-ish. So yeah, after all that, you let it develop for 5 years of this class that was supposed to be like the God level class, and we have one like low end quarterback, one a superstar receiver, a okay tight end one, and like two wide receiver twos. So who knows? These 27 picks will continue to be worth crazy money until the 27 draft happens. So I might even get to the point where I start selling. If people just keep building up that much and I can get like legit superstars for those picks on contenders, fuck yeah. I'll take proven studs for draft picks as long as I'm not rebuilding.
And something that exists in 2027 that didn't exist in 2021, NIL money and transfer portals.
Mm-hmm.
All it's going to take is for one domino to fall. Like, the 2027 class sucks. I invested too much.
Yeah, for sure. I've been hearing about this class before I even knew any of the names in it. So don't get me wrong. For Dynasty, I'm a big fan of holding on to draft picks. Even on my multiple of my teams that I won a title with this year have the 112 still in its possession because I really do everything I can not to sell my draft picks unless I have like a desperate need on that, championship caliber team. So I'm not quick to move picks. I'm not, I don't function the way that a lot of people do, where it's just shuffle those picks off as soon as you get them for win now pieces. But if these trends continue and these 27 picks you could turn into fucking, stud level players, HN level players for your contenders, man, I'm doing it. Fuck yeah.
All for it. Joe's follow-up was his best wide receiver is Garrett Wilson. Could be tough sledding for any and all Jets receivers this year.
Joe, are you saying that your best wide receiver is Garrett Wilson, or the guy that has Bijan that you're trying to get Bijan from? Garrett Wilson's his best wide receiver. Because I guess you mean his best. When he says his, so I assume that the team that has Bijan is Garrett Wilson. So yeah, if that's the case, if it's Garrett Wilson and some sub players to that, Rashee Rice probably looks pretty damn tempting to that team. So yeah, I think that's an ideal starting point, offering a team like that, HN and Rice as a jumping off point. I mean, again, I don't think it's that far off. If that guy likes Rice, or he's a real big HN fan and likes Rice similar to what I do, he might just say okay on that initial offer.
All right, well, time will tell. Let's get into the NFC West fantasy breakdown. Let's get these there. Hold on.
There we are. That's us again.
That's us again. Missing Zach here. He's much smoother with these transitions.
Usually the one running the board. It's all good. Just job security for old Zach Rom.
Well, first team that we're gonna discuss, the defending Super Bowl champions, the Seattle Seahawks. A lot has changed on that team in just 2 short months. They've got a new offensive coordinator, no more Kenneth Walker. JSN signed a massive contract extension, 4 years, $168 million. What is your I, for one, think that there's a lot of uncertainty in the Seahawks offense going into next year. The only sure thing is JSN. How are you approaching redraft and or dynasty values for the Seahawks heading into this season?
Well, you're definitely right about the uncertainty. So when a team wins the Super Bowl, their offensive coordinator leaves. If I'm not mistaken, their head coach is a defensive guy. So, Kubiak, who was the OC there, was the offense. He was the one making the calls, scheming everything up. So I don't want to say that we're instantly in trouble or should be worried about Seattle, so to speak. But it is going to be a completely different, a different scheme, a different offense. So I worry about it, seeing what happened to them, like happened to my Eagles. We had the first Super Bowl they won. It was Shane Steichen got, the head coaching gig because the coordinators from the Super Bowl winners like always lose their coordinators. So what the Eagles did, and I hope that the Seahawks learned from this, is they didn't have any creativity. It was like when Steichen left, they just brought somebody from in-house, and it was just really generic and bland, and it sucked for fantasy. So I hope the Seahawks are smarter than that. I mean, they're a pretty well-run organization. They just won the damn Super Bowl. So I don't want to say that like I'm immediately worried about them, but it's definitely something to be aware of. If they come out and look real flat and non-creative the first 3 games of the season, that's pretty scary. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. JSN is locked. He'll be a first-round pick in all formats, I'm quite sure. So I think you're gonna have to spend up if you want to have JSN, and I'm okay with it. He's proven now 2 years in a row that he's a superstar. Just got the big bag. So the running back room, we have to see if they do something in the draft. They could certainly bring in a higher end rookie, an earlier drafted rookie, but if they kind of leave things as is, if they think Charbonnet is going to be ready or close to ready, and they went out and gave Emmanuel Wilson a decent-sized contract, casual fans might not even know who the fuck Emmanuel Wilson is, but he was the basically the handcuff, the backup for Josh Jacobs in Green Bay last year. And the couple games that they leaned on him to be the lead back, he was really good. Like 100 plus yards, 2 touchdowns, like really, really good. So he's interesting as hell to me, because if they only bring in like a day 3 running back and he's going to be their main guy or like their 1B when Sharps is healthy, he's worth a lot to me. He's a guy that you could certainly go out and buy for nothing crazy price-wise, and then you just might have a starting running back that you can use for a good chunk of the year. For Darnold's certainly an asset for Superflex, but I think in single quarterback, in a regular like 12-team single quarterback league, Darnold's just going to be on waivers most likely. I think he should be. There's just so many good. There's a great top 12, and then there's so many guys in that like 12 to 18, 20 range that are all very serviceable, that are worth taking a flyer on, that Darnold might just be like the best guy sitting on waivers all year. And at tight end, it's like A.J. Barner and Arroyo. I don't think for Dynasty, certainly roster those guys, but in redraft, I'm not seeing any reason to play those guys. And then the only other thing is behind JSN, it looks like it'll still be, I can't think of his name, Rashid Shaheed, and they brought back on a nice sized deal, but he's more of a special teams guy. He's a fairly risky start for normal leagues without like kick return yardage. And then Cooper Kupp, I guess, is still under contract for at least one more season there. So that kind of rounds out the receiving room. I personally don't think too much of them. I mean, again, JSN, you'll have to spend your first on them, but I'm okay doing that. again, I'm definitely into Emmanuel Wilson. I'll draft him. He'll probably go super late in redraft, and you can probably get him real cheap in Dynasty. So I'm definitely liking him. In Dynasty leagues where I have Josh Jacobs, I had him as my handcuff for him like everywhere. So now I just got a nice random free asset basically. Now that he's going to have more of a role, so that's pretty cool. And then Kupp, Shaheed, the tight ends, no thanks. Darnold only in Superflex. That's about where I'm at on the defending champs. Their defense is definitely good. Their defense is a playable asset for sure in leagues with team defense.
It feels like the Seahawks have to do something better than Emmanuel Wilson and hoping that Zach Charbonnet is ready for week one. They historically are a team that will be willing to trade back. Do they have to move up for a running back? Do you think they move up a little bit? There aren't a whole lot of great prospects outside of Jeremiah Love, which they're almost positively not trading up into the top 4 to 7. Is there any running back available that will really move the needle for you in that offense?
I mean, I don't think there's really any free agent backs that are going to come in that we're all going to go, oh, nice, that's a key asset now. I think what it comes down to is the draft and just kind of what we've been looking at as far as running backs in the draft for years now. If they draft I think it's extremely unlikely they take a running back at the end of round one, just based on the league feelings on this running back class. And Love will be long gone by then. By the time they pick at 32, so it really just comes down to if they draft a day 2 running back. If they take a second or third round running back, that immediately moves the needle. That puts that running back into. I mean, he'll get overhyped. I feel like if they pull the trigger, especially with the second or even third round running back, it's going to be like, okay, 1, this means that Charbonnet is definitely fucked at least for a while. 2, that running back will immediately be hyped up over Emmanuel Wilson. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that'll just be the immediate reaction by the community. Any running back drafted day 2, we just automatically skyrocket them, whether they should be or not, or whether their talent warrants it or not. So I think they certainly could. If we get to the draft, and I'm sure they're keeping a close eye on Charbonnet's rehab and recovery and everything, and if they think that he's definitely out for like half the year, they could pull the trigger. Now, if they don't, if we only see them draft like a round 5 running back or something like that, I think that shows that they believe in Wilson and they believe that Charbonnet's not really long term. So that'll hinge, I say, Wilson and Sharp's value a ton based on if we see them take that day 2 running back or not.
Do you want the Seahawks to add a day 2 receiver or sign a Jawan Jennings? Do you want more? Do you want Jaxon to get all those targets, or have another receiver or 2 to help take some coverage away from him?
I don't think they necessarily need to. Rashid Shaheed's a pretty good receiver, even though he's mainly a special teams guy. If they want to use him, he can put up numbers. Cooper Kupp, he's old and on his last leg, but he still gets it done. He had a couple of games in the playoffs. I mean, he's a nice possession receiver, if you want to call him that. And then a guy I completely slipped my mind, but Torrey Horton showed some flashes. He's a pretty good player. Crazy nose for the end zone. He had the amount of touchdowns he had on the amount of catches was pretty bonkers last year before he got hurt. So I think they do have high hopes for him as well. So if you look at that, those 4 receivers, I don't think they really will see the need to spend a day 2 pick on a wide receiver. I mean, they certainly could. I'm not. Kupp, Horton, and Shaheed are by no means like all time. Well, I guess Kupp isn't all time, but current day Cooper Kupp and Shaheed and Horton, they're not striking fear into the hearts of any defenses really, but I think they're a perfectly serviceable 2, 3, and 4 behind a stud like JSN. So if I'm the Seahawks, I wouldn't really be prioritizing wide receiver unless, of course, a guy they really like fell far enough that it was just too much of a value to pass on. But I think we always want the superstars to get a ton of looks. So if JSN can get 175 targets and 120 catches and 1,700 yards again, we love that shit.
Yeah, I'll sign up for that. That'd be all right.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, look at that.
There we go. All right.
I mean, we're talking about the Seahawks, but we could talk about the Rams now that the screen's right.
Yeah, got. Let's move on to another exciting offense with a elite wide receiver. Puka Nacua had a colossal year. It's hard to imagine him improving off of last season, but if Davante Adams takes a step back, Adams isn't getting any younger. There aren't a whole lot of like the Seahawks, there aren't a lot of weapons outside of Nacua and Adams to challenge for targets. Does Matthew Stafford keep it together? He was a huge wild card this time last year with a back injury. Blake Corum cut into some of the Kyron touches and touchdowns. What are your thoughts for the Rams this season?
I guess first and foremost, I'd like to give a shout out to Kyron Williams because he doesn't even get pictured here. Poor Kyron Williams, just annual, perennial top 10 fantasy running back. Doesn't even make the graphic, but shout out to Kyron. Will be a value pick, I'm sure. Again, somebody I always like having. I have quite a bit of him in Dynasty. But other than Kyron, we've got the key cogs posted here. Puka is right there with Jamar Chase to be considered the 101 or at least the wide receiver one. Chase just seems to be the default wide receiver one for like redraft and fantasy at this point, and almost for the last like 2 years. But pound for pound and like game for game stats, Puka might be better. I'd have to dig into the numbers a little bit, but I mean, just points per game, Puka's been fucking incredible. It's just with Puka, he's missed a decent amount of he's missed some games in his career, whereas Jamar Chase has been pretty readily available his entire career. So I think for risk-averse people and just in general, that's a good tie break. I mean, for me too. I mean, I'll take a little risk, but if I'm looking at two players that I value almost identically and one of them's never hurt, give me the guy that's never hurt. But if you want to take Puka first, that might be the reward for the taking the risk. He's just incredible. He can just take over games. He has these games with like 12 and 13 catches and shit. It's just Stafford knows how to get him the ball. He's got that vibe with. It almost reminds me of like when you looked at a few years back when the Chiefs were just like the most explosive offense with him and Kelsey. It's just like they were just playing mind games with defenses out there. It was like the route would just break down and Kelsey could get to the open spot. It's like Puka does the same thing. Puka just gets where he needs to be, where Stafford wants him. He's just awesome. With Adams, we talked about it. He had an awesome season in like overall points, and I think he finished as like the wide receiver 8 per game or something or 8 total or whatever it was. But it was all touchdowns, man. It was like so few catches, 60 catches or something like that, and so many touchdowns. So Davante's a dude that's always had that nose for the end zone, though. So him and like Mike Evans are like the only two dudes that if I was doing projections and like putting my own stats out there or projected stats out there, I would just always pencil him in for like a high touchdown rate. And he was like a goal line running back last year, but like a goal line receiver. It was wild. So he's older. I don't think you'll have to spend that high a pick for him. Where he'll go in redraft, I probably think he's worth taking still. But he's not just 30, he's like 33 now, I want to say, something like along those lines. So Father Time could just be waiting there with that fucking bear trap just to grab him by the hamstring and be, call it a career.
Yeah, if anything were to happen to Adams, it's inconceivable to think that Nacua could have an even bigger year, but it feels like Nakua's banged up, but he's very durable, and for a 5th-round pick, the guy is incredible. I wonder if the league got a do-over on that draft. I think it was 23 or 24, how high Nacua would go if that draft was today.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think the fantasy footballers used to have a term. I think they called Jeremy Maclin was the big salad, like a very unsexy, very boring play. But Kyren Williams is the salad. He's just so boring, but he gets the job done. When Corum was drafted, everybody panicked. Oh, well, they spent a 3rd-round pick on Blake Corum. See you later, Kyren Williams. Nope. Kyren just keeps chugging along. He was late-round pick, too. The Rams have really done their work in the scouting department. I'm curious to see what offensive players they're looking at in the draft. They feel fairly set at a lot of positions. We know they have Kyren Williams, Blake Corum. They spent second-round pick on tight end Terrence Ferguson last year. Tutu Atwell's gone. They could use another receiver, but I don't think the offense is going to change a whole lot. I can't see them spending an early round pick on an offensive player.
Yeah, they have what? They have the Falcons pick, is it? Like
Yeah,
the 12, 13, something like that. Yeah, you really never know with them. I mean, shit, they could sell it for a veteran. You know, the Rams tend to be of the school of fuck those picks for most of their McVay's tenure at least. So I could see them even making a trade maybe on draft day, but we'll see. I have no guess on what they do with the draft. They're a pretty complete team. If they do make picks, I'm going to guess that they make smart picks. You know, whatever O-line, whatever. I think they have pretty decent DBs, so maybe a linebacker or something. Whatever makes sense for them. They're obviously a really solid, well-run organization, especially since McVay got there. They're always competitive. So whatever they do with their picks, whether they make the picks or trade them, I'm pretty confident it'll make their team better and they'll make the right moves. But I have no guess because they obviously don't need a quarterback yet. They don't need a receiver right now. They don't need a running back with Kyren and with Corum behind them. So as far as the positions we give a shit about, I don't think they really address that at all via the draft.
Maybe they'll use that high pick on USC's Mekhi Lemon and throw a wrench into everything.
I mean, maybe Adams. Even if they don't use him this year, if this is Adams' last year, then he could just step right into a main 1B role with with Puka next year, or if something happens to Adams over the course of the year, that rookie would have immediate impact for sure on this offense. But I mean, I guess last note on the Rams, and I'll kind of say this for each of the teams we look at. I wouldn't say I'd be targeting Puka. If I'm in that top of the draft, I'm happy to take him in that top 4 range, top 5 range, where he's going to go. I'd only really be targeting Adams if he falls far enough. If I'm looking at the receivers on the board and none of them have a ceiling, none of them are really appealing to me. I'll certainly pull the trigger on Adams, but I definitely wouldn't reach for a player his age for sure. Might try to trade for him in some dynasty leagues. If anybody has Davante Adams on a team that isn't set to win this year, make a fucking offer. Because if a team like last year that was a failed contender, they kind of went all in with their picks. They didn't get the title, and now they just have a bunch of old assets and clearly need to rebuild. Go out and make an offer for Adams if you yourself are a contender for sure, because that's the type of piece you can get for a late second in this class, and hopefully have a really nice asset for your title push this year. And then Kyren, I've always been a Kyren guy. He'll continue to be a value. I'm sure you can get Kyren I have to look. I pull up that CBS mock that they did the other week. It gave us a good look at like a full mock draft with the pros. But let's see where Kyren went in there. Kyren, where's he at? He was a late third round pick, round 3, pick 11. I'll take that all day. That team took Lamb in the first, Saquon in the second, and Kyren in the third. Lovely start. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Take that all day to start a redraft team. So, yep, I'll end up having Kyren shares on the wherever I can get him in that range.
Kyron's that guy where people always say, "Oh, he's getting replaced this year. Always getting replaced this year."
Yeah.
And he doesn't get replaced, and he just keeps getting the job done.
He really does. And then Stafford, who it's almost crazy to say this. We've touched on it before this offseason. He was the quarterback fucking one in fantasy last year. Number 1, not a Russian quarterback, not a young quarterback. Matt Stafford was the quarterback 1. Now, that being said, no one will be surprised if he finishes as the quarterback 14 or 15 this year because he threw half as many touchdowns.
Right.
It's quite possible. He's done it. Look at his career log with the years with the Rams and the years with the Lions. Like all passing quarterbacks, like your Joe Burrows of the world, you can have a monster top 3, top 1 season because you had a ton of yards and mainly a ton of touchdowns, and then you can literally cut your touchdown total in half the next year and not even be a quarterback 1. So I don't think Stafford in 12-team redraft, I don't know if he even gets drafted as a starter. There's so many names out there that just seem sexier on paper, that can run with the ball, that just seem more appealing than Stafford. So I'm not saying you shouldn't draft him as a quarterback 1, but I don't think he's going to be drafted as a quarterback 1 this year.
This feels
Even
like
though he was.
This feels like a would you rather segment. Would you rather Stafford or Jared Goff? Traded for each other, in fact.
Man, I think I would lean Goff just because I just like the Lions' offense a little bit better. It's a little more exciting. But I mean that's a good measuring stick. I feel like once we get into like August and we're looking at like real time money league ADP, they're probably right next to each other. They're probably both. I think they both might actually get bumped out of the top 12. I think we might be looking at Stafford and Goff with ADPs of like 14 and 15, quite honestly.
Yeah. Stafford or former Ram Baker Mayfield?
Ooh, man. Baker spent like 5 weeks looking like the league MVP and a fantasy league winner, and then the rest of the season just looking hobbled and lost. He lost Mike Evans. He still has Puka, a healthier Godwin now. Another year removed from his last like big injury. I think I'll take Baker. I just think they might be in more shootouts or playing from behind more with a chance of like junk time, whereas the Rams are a more dominant team and could very well have the lead and lean on Kyren in the running game. So I'll take Baker there. Not by a landslide or anything, just I'll take him over Stafford.
Yeah, I agree. They all feel pretty close. They could be top 3 QB. They could be QB 12 through 15.
Yep.
Just that easy.
Yep, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to touch on Stafford there since we didn't really. So who we got next? Do we dare try to do another graphic, or should we just leave the Rams up?
No, I got us up there.
There we go.
San Francisco.
There we go. Look at that smooth transition, Mr. Oviedo.
Getting there. It's tough hosting. Palms are sweaty over here. Zach runs a tight ship. The 49ers, the elephant in the room. Does that the guy like in the center of the screen, does he have another 13, 14 game plus season in him? Or is it I hope so. The game's just better when McCaffrey's healthy. He's a monster.
He is, man. I'm about to pull up his not his game log, but his just kind of career career game or games played and usage. It feels like every time he's had one of these like monster usage, monster for fantasy seasons, the following year has just been kind of disastrous. And I don't want to say that's like an automatic thing for him, but I just immediately think back to Barkley after the 2,000-yard year going into this year. It was like anywhere you look, any stats that you could find, just say if you have that many touches and that much usage the year before, your next year is either just injury plagued or nothing even close to as efficient. And we just saw it with Barkley. And I don't think anybody would say that like Barkley hit a cliff or he doesn't look good or he's not in shape. I mean, Barkley looks like a goddamn Marvel superhero. I mean, that dude's just jacked to fucking. He looks like a pro wrestler. But you saw with the usage that he got, he just wasn't nearly as effective. With CMC, I want to say he did piece together like two of those monster years in a row, but it was also like in his Carolina years. I feel like ever since then, it's been like in every other type of situation with him where he's been, super reliable and amazing, and then the next year is almost like a lost season. But yeah, I'm about to see. Let's see history. So he had his first 2 years in San Fran, he did give you back-to-back running back 2 and then running back 1. So that's shitting on everything I just said. So he could do it. Now the next year, lost season. Played 4 games, not even 4 complete games. It was a complete disaster. You took him at like the 101, and it crushed you. Then boom, right back to running back 1 this year. So he's 29. I think he turns 30 either prior to the season starting or like in mid-season. Coming off a year where he had 311 rushes and 102 receptions. So that's even like way more touches than he had. Dude, listen to this. The 2022 and 2023, the years where he went back-to-back really successful with San Fran right when he got there, it was 244 carries and 85 catches. Then the next year it was 272 carries and only 67 catches, right? But this past year was 311 carries and 102 catches. Like, so many more than those years. And he's 2 years older, 3 years older. So, I mean, if I had to, like, put money on it, gun to my head, is Christian McCaffrey going to have another great, awesome year next year or break down and be ineffective? I'd have to bet on the breakdown and be ineffective. It's just between the age, that usage, the fact that San Fran seems like everybody gets fucking hurt. The fact that he didn't get hurt last year was remarkable. We always joked that he was, siphoning the health off of other players, but I mean, it's just, I'd love to see him play. I never want to like project injury or even draft a guy like, I'm not taking him because he's getting hurt. It's always, if you did that last year, it burned the shit out of you. But
That was me.
But man, he's so fucking good. The usage scares the fuck out of me. He basically had as many touches last year as Barkley did in his 2,000-yard year. And if Barkley couldn't manage to hold up, I mean, Barkley at least stayed healthy. He didn't just completely tank you. He still got you running back, whatever it was, numbers, high-end running back 2, low-end running back 1, whatever it ended up being on the season. But I'll say this with McCaffrey, I feel like enough people will be feeling that way and be worrying about the injury and the usage that he'll probably be like a later first-round pick. So it won't be as disastrous as when you had to take him at 101 and then lose everything. I think losing losing your first round pick in redraft is a disaster regardless. But if it's a late first, you at least have a fighter's chance of bouncing back from it or staying alive.
On a dynasty team, what are you moving McCaffrey for, and are you doing it now, or are you waiting for a really, really big game, say week 2, 3, 4, before, God forbid, something happens, something jumps up and bites him?
The answer there is pretty easy for me because if you have McCaffrey, you're almost definitely on a competing team. You're on a competitive team that coming off a title or very close to a title. In those scenarios, I'm not selling McCaffrey because the story with him, especially for certainly in Dynasty, is people will be lowballing and saying, "Oh, he's old," and if you ever even put McCaffrey on the block, that just implies that you're trying to rebuild and move off of him. So you're going to get shit offers. So if I have a realistic shot at the playoffs and winning this year, McCaffrey's not even going on the block. Now, if I have like a failed contender from last year or a team that even won a championship last year, but it's just that was it. It was all shot. It was him and all old people, and I need to tear down. I would still hope to get like a first for McCaffrey from a contender, but I just feel like anytime you're moving an asset like him at his age in a dynasty, you're never really going to get what you want, even though he can be an incredible asset this year and be the running back one again. I just feel like you'll get lowballed. You might have to move off of him for like a second and a third, or like a second and a dart throw young player or something along those lines. I'd be asking a first, but hopefully just recouping something close to a first.
Or just ride him into the sunset.
Right. But I mean, if you have no shot to compete this year, sell him for the best offer that you can get. Because if you are rebuilding and you have no shot at even winning next year, or like 2027, you're never going to you'll get nothing for him. He'll just be retired and like waiver fodder. So if you are on a true tanking rebuilding team that still has McCaffrey somehow, shop him hard, talk to every competitive team in the league, but take the best you're going to get because he fucking rolls an ankle in week 2, high ankle sprain, something like that. You're not getting shit for him.
The player I'm most excited about in this offense is Mike Evans. I think people have written off Mike Evans way too early. With George Kittle hurt, Kendrick Bourne gone, and Juwan Jennings still unsigned, there are 212 targets from those 3 alone available. Mike Evans has only missed significant games twice in a season. Twice in his career, he's played over 14 games in all but 2 seasons. I'm really excited about Evans in this offense. I hate to say this phrase. It feels like such a cop-out. If he could stay healthy. I only say that because the 49ers have a really hard time staying healthy. I'm probably going to overdraft Mike Evans, or if I make a trade, I'm buying Evans wherever I can, hoping that people are writing him off due to age. I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, he's not going to stay healthy." It's like the best landing spot Evans could have gone outside of Tampa.
Something that just crossed my mind looking at this graphic. Who the fuck gives up their number? Mike Evans or Brock Purdy?
Oh, hard-hitting questions.
I mean, seriously, like, Brock Purdy is their franchise quarterback with a big contract that has given them nothing but success. So he's no rookie that's just going to succeed his number to the vet. But Mike Evans is a fucking legend, Hall of Famer, 10 years in the game, 11 years in the game, whatever. Just do we see Brock Purdy in a different jersey next year?
I hope Evans doesn't do something stupid like number 0. Who wants to be 0?
Yeah, I old school. I like the days when receivers only wore 80 through 89. Helped you identify them on the field there. I guess at least they did they keep it that it's either 80 through 89 or in the teens, or can you be even like in the 20s or random numbers now? I forget.
I remember Sky Moore was like number 22 or 24, and it looked really ugly.
Yeah, you're right. Sky Moore was 24. Yeah, good call. So, yeah, I guess you can apparently wear in the fucking 20s if you're a receiver now.
And now it seems like nobody's a number in the 80s. It feels like a couple tight ends are in the 80s, but
yeah, you're right. I think the teens have really taken over the wide receiver numbers. Yeah, shit. Who the hell even wears 80s as a wide receiver at this point? Crazy.
Dying breed.
Really. Yeah, we're getting old. We're getting old, sir. Us yapping about our wide receivers wearing fucking numbers in the 80s.
In my days,
they wore 80 through 89, so you could tell who they were. God damn it. So, back to fantasy stuff, man. Yeah, Evans, I think he'll probably be kind of similar to Davante Adams, similar draft range, and if he falls far enough that people are overlooking him, then he's somebody I'll have no problem drafting. That's a good point. People tend to look at Evans as more injury prone than that, but he really does only have 2 lost seasons, so to speak. And he's obviously extremely good, going to a very functional offense, good offensive mind there. So I'm sure they'll know how to use him. I would put Purdy right in that same zone with Goff and Stafford, like we were talking about, that he'll be in that 15-ish range where a good reason guys like that or make me just want to wait on quarterback, literally be the last team in my 12-team redraft to take a quarterback because, oh, woe is me. I have to take it. And you take 2 of them. I'll grab Purdy and Stafford or Purdy and Goff or Purdy and Kyler or whatever it ends up being. And I just spent the first 12 rounds just stacking up the skill positions. So, but yeah, I'd put Purdy right there with those guys. He's very good. He's a sneaky runner. Purdy gets some points with his legs. Adding Evans, obviously, it only helps. Kittle, not pictured. Older Achilles tear. I mean, he's most likely missing a decent chunk at the beginning of the season. He'll still probably get drafted. By the time we get to August, there'll be better reports on when they think he'll be ready. So I'm pretty sure people will still take Kittle towards the end of their drafts, especially leagues with IR and stuff like that. So he's still worth drafting. When Kittle's on the field, he's phenomenal still. But Jake Tonjes,
I was going to ask.
He is absolutely worth drafting and even starting if any weeks that Kittle's out for. He showed it just about every game that Kittle missed last season. He immediately stepped into a key role and was very useful for fantasy. Without looking at the stats, I want to say he was, at least on a per game basis, if you Azer stat it down to just the games that he was the starter for, I want to say he was probably tight end 5 or 6. And I don't think that's overestimating. He was that good. He was 100% startable. So yeah, that's a nice play. I wouldn't mind drafting Kittle and then Tonjes later or something and just locking up that position in a redraft league. So yeah, Tonjes worth mentioning for sure. And then Pearsall, I guess, is the last thing to touch on. There's a dude that he has zero history of being healthy and available, at least since he entered the league. Some weird shit. Obviously, the gunshot, doesn't make him injury prone or anything like that. But I mean, it is what it is. He missed that much of that season, and then this past season was also very injury plagued. He's shown that he can play in the very brief windows that he's been available for. He is a first-round draft pick, so they're certainly going to give him all the opportunity to succeed. But yeah, man, it's just, I don't know. I've never been big on Pearsall. He can certainly fall to a point where I would draft him, but I don't know where that's at. I don't know where he's going to end up going in redraft. It's going to be a value where it's going to be 10 other players on the board that I'd rather have, but I've never been that big on Pearsall. What do you say on him?
when he plays, he gets targeted. He gets targeted like crazy. I guess that could be a byproduct of not really having any other receiving threat. I mean, Jawan Jennings just felt like a guy for so many years, like a glorified special teamer. It took him 3 or 4 years to carve out a significant role. I wasn't a huge Pearsall guy. I thought he was drafted a little too high. But when he's been on the field, they look his way a lot. He's done well, but I think the jury's still out on him. He could have if he could piece together a full season, I think the talent's there. Maybe the confidence of the offense utilizing him in that role. Maybe a little bit of buyer's remorse from the 49ers. I don't know if hindsight's 2020. Was he a first round pick? Probably not. But he feels like a really good complementary piece. And if you have a Mike Evans and McCaffery to take some pressure off of him, he could be one of the surprises of the year, or he could just be banged up like seemingly every other 49er.
Yeah, just pull up his game log from last year. He had basically he played the majority of snaps in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games total. He had a wide receiver 11 finish, 20, 21, 22. So he gave you one wide receiver 1 week, barely, and then 3 wide receiver 2 games. But in the other games, his wide receiver finishes were wide receiver 52, 44, 102, 78, and 80. So 4 solid games, 5 dud games, which they say all that to say, what do we know? What can we expect? He was either a wide receiver 2 or a complete fucking disaster for your lineup. So who's to say how much of that was injury? It was spread out. He played some games, missed some games, came back, missed 1 game, came back. So it was really scattered, spread out over the whole course of the season. But yeah, I've never been that high on him. I'll probably end up not drafting him or looking to acquire him. Now, if he comes out and they really focus on him and he's healthy and he starts looking awesome, that'll be just an L in my column because I avoided him. But my gut tells me he's more of an avoid than a acquire for me.
Yeah, I think it feels like a last chance for Pearsall before the fantasy community is like, yeah, I don't want to play with you anymore.
Yep. And then I guess last thing is unpictured because we have no idea who it is, but whoever, whether it's a rookie or Jordan, what's that guy's name? Rookie running back from last year, something James maybe, or I guess Garendo is still there, probably under some type of contract, or they draft a rookie. Whoever ends up as the primary behind CMC is obviously an immediate asset in all formats. So we just have no idea at this point in the year, pre-rookie draft. We can't even really speculate on it, but just keep an eye on that. Whoever looks like they're the running back 2 on that depth chart is instantly super valuable.
Yes, absolutely. And last and pretty much least is the Arizona Cardinals. Sorry, Cardinal fans, all 2 of you that may be watching. Man, Trey McBride's something else. He makes tight end fun. Why can't there be more Trey McBrides?
Yeah. He was just so fucking good last year. Only thing I could say about him is he was so damn good last year that he'll probably just get overdrafted this year. I fully expect that he will give you another rock solid top 2, 3, if not 1 overall again, tight end season, barring injury. But when you come off of a season like he did, it's hard to not get pushed up too far. I think in our mock, we took him, like, I think we all agreed, like, hey, we're going to take Trey McBride here. Maybe not even so much because we think it's the right spot, but let's try to keep this realistic. Like, in almost every league, he's probably going to be a late first, super early second round pick. You know, what he did last year warrants that, no doubt. He actually went right where we took him in our mock. In the CBS mock, he went at 2.6, so like halfway into the second. I think at that point, I would even pull the trigger on him. But we'll see. As it gets closer to real fantasy drafts, I could see him being like the 201, 202, and I'd probably pass there. But nothing but love and respect for that dude. I had him on so many teams last year. He did everything for you. He did have one dud in the fantasy playoffs, which bad timing on that one. Could have used that, could have replaced it, just did that in like week 10 or something. But other than that, you know, I think it was the round before the championship. So it would have been like week 16 was like his only bad game of the season. And sadly for me, who had him in my most important redraft league, I got beat in that round and ended up having to settle for third. With the rest of the roster there, Brissett, and they did bring in Minshew, which I guess, depending on how it goes with Brissett, we could end up seeing Gardner Minshew. I think Brissett's a capable enough veteran that they'll probably just ride with him for the majority of the year unless he gets hurt or something. Only a super flex thought, really. Brissett was actually pretty awesome last year. For fantasy, he was like a top 12 every week. But he's not that. I think that was just kind of a freak thing where they were just playing from behind so much, and they'll probably be doing that again this year. But Brissett, at best, will be a potential streamer if a couple weeks into the year it looks kind of like the same offense and he's putting up those same kind of numbers, but he's certainly not going to get drafted in anything but super flex. So there's really not much else to say about him. I guess same thing if, for whatever reason, whether it's injury or benching, and Minshew does come in, he's exactly the same. It's just a super flex thought. No reason to start him in one quarterback. Marv is probably the most polarizing thing here. What are your thoughts on Marv? What do you think of him as far as like after the couple years that we've seen, and do you think he takes the leap? Do you think they try to force him into a more heavy role just based on the draft capital? I mean, it's not the same coaching regime that drafted him, so that always factors in. Like, him being a number 4 overall pick or whatever he was doesn't mean a fucking thing to the new coach. So, what do you think?
It's weird that it's seemingly only Marv struggling. Like, McBride isn't struggling. Michael Wilson came out of nowhere and had the season that everybody thought should be Harrison. Marvin Harrison may be the most recent or the only Ohio State wide receiver bust that it's been a long time. I can't even think of one off the top of my head. There was a interview early last season, like a post-game interview, and he just seemed so mentally defeated. I think he has to be traded. He has to go a fresh start where I can't think of a world where this exists, but where he's not the alpha, where he could be a number 2 receiver, just go in, do his job, and not be can't be the hero. He's not going to be, at least for now, it almost feels like he needs to find the love of the game again. He needs some confidence, and I don't think he's going to get that in Arizona, where they're probably destined for another 4 to 5 win season max.
Yeah, I pretty much the whole world was plenty high on him coming out. Um, he's only really dropped in value every week since his draft. Let's see where he went in that CBS mock. I like being able to refer to this since we did our mock, but we only did 3 rounds, so there's certainly a lot of key players we didn't get to actually see where they fell. But let's try to find old Marv here. Marvin Harrison, there he is. He was round 5, pick 7. That seems realistic. I don't think much is going to change NFL draft-wise. I don't think any of these rookie receivers are going to get taken over Marv, regardless of landing spot. So yeah, I think he'll probably be in that range. That far down, I don't hate that with the potential that he has, I guess. So here, let's look at it like this. So he got taken round 5, pick 7. The guys that were still on the board were Wan'Dale Robinson, Brian Thomas, Chris Godwin, Jacoby Myers, Cortland Sutton, and then his teammate Michael Wilson at 7-4. I'll say this. Give me Michael Wilson at 7-4 over Marv at 5-7.
Yeah.
Wilson was phenomenal last year. It's the same quarterback. There's no, again, this is not a coaching staff that is going to feel pressured to pump the ball, overthrow the ball to Marv. So yeah, I don't think that 5-7 is a bad range for him. And again, with the players I just named, the guys going right around him, Wan'Dale, Sutton, etc. I don't think it's crazy to draft Marv over them, but there'll probably be other players, maybe not even receivers, in that range that I just like more than Marv, that I have more confidence in. We'll see, man. He certainly has the physical tools to be awesome. There's a reason he got drafted that high and was so good in college, but just hasn't really translated yet.
Yeah, I don't. Man, I hope he's not broken forever. I hope that he can find his way somehow, get that confidence, and be the player that everyone thought he was going to be. Not pictured here is the backfield. James Conner, Trey Benson, whatever's left of Trey Benson. There are a lot of people really high on Trey Benson. The Cardinals are picking 3rd. That's too high for Jeremiah Love, right?
Well, I would say they're a poorly run organization. A poorly run organization could certainly pull that trigger on a running back that high. Haven't heard much speculation of that. Almost all the mocks are showing Love going to the Titans, which probably just as dumb a move for them as the Cardinals. I mean, we're talking about teams at the bottom of the league. Running back generally isn't the piece that you want to add with how short their shelf life is, but I don't think it would be that shocking of a move for them to take a running back. I think it would be dumb of them to take him, but if he did, obviously it would completely obliterate any value that Connor or Benson were carrying, and it would relegate Algier to just the exact same role that he's been in behind Bijan, a high-end handcuff, maybe potential pinch starter. But to touch on the guy that's actually there, Algier, there's a dude that I'll have a lot of interest in this year. You actually brought it up, I guess it was last week or I think maybe 2 weeks ago, when we were talking about the free agent moves, that the guys in that range, like Algier and like Rico Dowdle on the Steelers now, they're the dudes I love rostering in dynasty leagues where I pay heavy to have really good receivers and quarterbacks that, with the assets I have left over, I'm more or less forced to piecemeal my running back room together. And a dude like Algier, dude, if it's really just the corpse of James Conner and Trey Benson, who just hasn't been able to do anything yet, and they gave Algier respectable free agent money, he's probably the bell cow there. I don't think they would pay him that much and to not have him be. So Algiers definitely a dude that I'll have a lot of interest in drafting. Let me see where he was at. Yeah, I'm sure he was pretty fucking late in this mock from a few weeks ago. Let's see. I see Dowdle. Dowdle was round 9, pick 6. Jesus, that's fun. I'll take that. I'll spend that all day.
Yeah.
Where's Algier at? Man, I don't even see where he went, but I guess I see Connor was drafted at round 9, pick 7, that far after Dowdle. I don't know. I just don't see him here. Shot right, unless he went like way high. Algier. Yeah, Algier went round 9, pick 9. He went 2 spots after Connor in this in that CBS mock. That seems crazy to me. But yeah, shit. If Dowdle and Algier are round 9 picks in redraft,
sign me up.
Okay, yeah, for sure. That's awesome depth.
So yeah.
Yeah, man. Michael Wilson will be a target for me. I'll probably take him if he stays in that like mid-round 7 range with what he did last year. Hell yeah, I'll sign up for the same quarterback again. So give me some Michael Wilson. Trey McBride, if he stays in that middle 2nd round level, I'm okay spending that on him. But I fear that as the normies start stepping back in and buying their fantasy magazines at the supermarket and getting ready for their redraft leagues, and they start seeing remembering how the team that had Trey McBride whipped their ass last year, I could just see his ADP really climbing up to damn near that 1st round range, and at that point I would just let somebody else take him and do my usual wait on tight end approach. But yeah, man, that's about all I got on the cards in these 4 teams. What say you, sir?
Man, I hope the Cardinals defense doesn't get any better. I hope they just losing a 2-score deficit in the 2nd quarter every week, and here comes old gunslinger Brissett chucking the ball all over the place. A resurgence for Marvin. Don't really care about them as an NFL team. We just need some fantasy goodness. There have to be bad NFL teams to have that willy-nilly garbage time hero. That's the Cardinals.
Yeah, man.
That makes for the 4 o'clock slate needs to be exciting.
Right. I wish the NFL would get better with balancing the slate, man. I feel like all the Sundays that that I got off of work, which was probably around half of them, I'd have the red zone on at the 1 o'clock games and just be overwhelmed and barely be able to pay attention to what's going on because I got fucking 8, 9 games on the screen at the same time in the Octo box, and then the late window hits and it's fucking 2 games or it's 3 games. It's like, get it together. The teams are spread all around the country. We've got pretty even balanced time zones. Why the fuck is every game at 1 p.m. Eastern? It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like stimulation overload, and then at 4:09, it's just over.
Yeah,
and you're like,
they can't even just keep the camera on a game at that point. But my man in the studio is just fucking having to talk about some random stats and showing highlights from the early games because there's not football action happening. All the games are on commercial or a timeout or whatever. It's I mean the 3 games that are on at the fucking 4 o'clock window. But yeah, maybe one day, and then maybe they'll start making all the receivers wear number fucking 80 through 89 again. Maybe we'll get
speak it into existence.
That's right. No shit. All right, man. Well, good talking NFC West with you. We should have our homeboy Zach back with the living next week. We'll hit another NFC division. I'm not sure if we'll do the East or the North. Both fun to talk about for sure. But we will let you know. Obviously, if anything more happens with free agent moves, trades, signings, all that good shit, we'll touch on that. But for now, man, cheers to you guys. Everybody
Cheers.
have a good Tuesday night, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.